Hey, what's up, everyone? It's been a long day for me, but I'm looking forward to this next thing I'm about to do. If you're new to this channel, by the way, welcome to this Saul Lee channel where I stream whatever the heck I feel like, but it's primarily the SAT. Today, I'll be going over the digital SAT practice test. And I just finished streaming like an hour ago a different stream where I was doing the digital test preview, and I was primarily focusing on the sort of experience of the digital test, like the UI, like should I use a computer, or should I bring my own laptop or should I bring my tablet? Like what parts of this is a lacking experience, what parts of this is a good experience, and hopefully that leads to some practical tips. I mean, it did lead to some practical tips about how to take the test. So if you want to watch that video, I'll link that in the description. Today we'll be going through the actual practice test itself. Here, I've actually set it up already, and we'll be going into basically the same deal as always. I'll just be timing myself and solving this within time pressure. But I think the big difference is because it's my first time ever taking the test, I'll probably pause to make comments sort of like extended comments on what I think is different and how I think my strategy might have to change based on the new format of the test. So right now, one of the big differences is that I don't know if it's more optimal for me to read the passage first or if it's more optimal for me to read the questions first. It's a big if, and I don't have the answer yet. I don't know. So I'll be kind of testing both ways and seeing what feels more natural for me and coming up with my list of pros and cons for either way. And if I have a recommendation by the end, I'll give a recommendation. But basically I'm learning about this just the same as you guys are, and we'll see what actually works. I want to make sure I have my do not disturb on so that I don't get interrupted by things. So give me a moment. Do not disturb. All right. So got that going. Just to answer really quickly the questions in the chat. Beacon, what's up? Yo, you can get the link in the description already. Okay, you can find it, but you have to download this whole app for it and everything, so it might take you a little bit of time. All right, so I think that gets us going. I mean, I think that's good enough to get started. I already have it in front of me. I guess we should just go right into it. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Oh, actually, I shouldn't start time yet. Here we go. Oh, do I even need this? I guess I don't need this because the digital SAT will time it for me. This loading screen is intense. Okay, we're starting. We have 32 minutes. I already read this once before. We're good. Now, I kind of want to just have this time going separately. I don't know why. Hang on. Is that better? No, it's not better. No, it is better. It's better. It's better to have it separately because counting up is more intuitive. Biodiversity loss due to invasive species is easy to avoid, preventable. Oops. It is by no means to recognize the influence. It's not very hard. Bosch on the paintings. The painter himself says Bosch, however, it is by no means controversial. Okay. It is not unimportant to recognize influence. That's kind of an awkward sentence, honestly, but none of the other ones work. So I'm just gonna yeah. Okay, I mean that's kind of weird, honestly. Keep going. when this will happen, since that depends on internal characteristics of Betelgeuse that are largely unknown. Internal characteristics to allow it to be... That has nothing to do with when. But okay. Oh, does it? Oh, I see. It prevents a conundrum. It's not about the method. Yeah, they attempted to solve, but they couldn't. Oh, that's actually a good question. That's a great question. The mimosa tree evolved in East Asia. Praise. We're talking about function again. So I am looking at the question just now. Persist. Oh, I see. I lost track of the first sentence. Wow, that's interesting. Why this spread, not spread. It's presents generalization that is exemplified. Yes. Oh, wow, that was hard. I had to actually understand every single sentence for that one. Whoa, that was interesting. Because I kind of skipped some sentences, like I kind of glossed over them, and I thought, it wasn't, no, but every single sentence was necessary for that one. Lowering prices. Investigate this notion. Oh, it's crazy because I have to flip through so many ideas. Every single page is new ideas. Proposed merging. They claim that the merging will increase in efficiency and lower prices. And she modeled this merger and found that the prices would rise. So the opposite. These two people, F and P, have argued that the research on the effect of margins on prices focus excessively on short-term effects, which tend to be adverse for consumers. I want to pause time because I want to talk. Can I pause time? I save and exit. Oh, that's super awkward, but okay. Okay, I can pause time to some extent. Short-term effects, adverse for customers. Over long terms, so they disagree. This Fan and Focarelli-Panetta, they disagree. So Focarelli-Panetta would respond to Fan, but it's saying that's too short-term. Expenses, no, not expenses. No, not another market. Okay, not these. Projected extended period, exactly. Correct. I'm gonna not do process elimination for D. Okay, I want to do a quick pause right now. How do I pause this thing? Save and exit, and I'm gonna pause. Whoa, that's the wrong button. Sorry. That's my face. Also, my keyboard shortcuts are really janky. They half work and half don't. Come on, can you just come back? Oh my God, my timer just went to 0. Okay, well that's annoying. I'm just gonna go without this timer. Guys, I'm sorry, janky OBS setup, but okay. I'm looking at this right now, and one thing I'm realizing is there's a huge difference in, it's actually way more ADHD. You have to switch ideas very quickly. So compared to the current SAT, which I think is actually calmer, okay, I can just sort of absorb one writer's idea and try to wrestle with this one writer and sort of dance with them and be like, oh, what are you thinking? Oh, what are you about to say, right? And I get really deep into this one writer, and I'm properly analyzing what that person's trying to say, right? Whereas here, I'm just going from passage to passage to passage, and I'm like, oh, new idea left and right. Oh, mergers. Oh, bugs. Oh, parasites. Oh, and there's so many ideas that are being covered. It's actually a little. I'm like frazzled by it. Plus on top of that, I don't really know what question types there are. I don't really know what to expect. So when I see a question, I don't have an immediate gut sense of like when I see a passage, I don't have a gut sense of what type of question will come out. So I do need to do a little bit of like peeking just to be like, oh, okay, I think this is what I'm looking for. But again, I'm not sure which one's more optimal yet. Maybe once I get trained enough, I will no longer have to peek at the question at all, right? But it's sort of all up in the air. My primary impression right now so far is, holy crap, the topics are changing really fast. It's kind of overwhelming. There is one other observation I can make, which is the questions themselves, the readings themselves, because you're jumping around so quickly. Weirdly, I find it harder to focus on this one. Yeah. But I think that's directly related to the previous comment. So here's another comment. You do have to put more pressure on each sentence. You do need to, because there are fewer sentences to read, you need to read each sentence better. And that's like a thing that doesn't feel as natural as like the current SAT. The current SAT, you can sort of read naturally if you're a good reader and you'll be fine. But here you kind of need to be on like Twitch reflex mode, you need to be playing at like 120 FPS and like making headshots constantly. It's very, very different experience. Okay. I'm just gonna keep going. So here we go. Good luck, Beacon. Man, this loading is actually pretty terrible. 소리 때문에 문 닫는다. Yo, this load is actually legit terrible. What's going on, dude? Also, on the real test, you won't be able to switch out like that, will you? Well, I'm kind of confused. I don't understand how that works. Anyway. Wait, what? On my previous stream, I literally praised the College Board development team for building an app that communicates quickly with its backend and is very fast and zippy. This right now is the opposite of fast and zippy. What the hell is going on? This is taking forever. Do I need to force quit? Okay. I'm gonna wait 10 seconds because I just have to press this button one more time. Oh, what the hell? This Zoom is a it's at like this app level. It's like the uppermost app level. What the heck is this, dude? This Zoom is just so nonsense. I don't know if you guys watched my previous stream, but I just complained about the Zoom nonstop. This Zoom is ridiculous. Anyway. Okay, guys, I'm gonna force quit. Oh my god, it's so. Don't show my email, please. Please don't show my email. Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. Resume. 3, 2, 1. Oh, nice. That's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna continue. The following text is from Sense and Sensibility. Eleanor lives with sisters and mother, Dashwood. Eleanor. Effectual, understanding, judgment. To be the counselor of her mother. To counteract the eagerness of mind in Mrs. Dashwood. Oh, her mother's the imprudent one. She had an excellent heart, her disposition was but she knew how to govern them. Okay, funny. What's true about Eleanor? Eleanor is chill and remarkably meh. D maybe well, I guess because it says only she's only 19, right? It says something about she's only 19. Where'd it go? I can't find it. It's so awkward reading this. Yeah, it's so awkward reading this not on paper. I can't mark it at all. It's actually painful that I cannot annotate anything. I can't write down initials on the margins. It's extremely painful. Uh, 1901, individuality, comments were marked by frankness. She was startlingly honest. Startlingly honest. She was avoided, and she exulted in it. They avoid her. Yeah, that's the startling. Ooh, that's kind of an interesting one. Yay, poetry. I heard people complain about the poetry. I wanna do this. It's addressed to a close friend as if he were physically present. I hurried to my bed. The repose for limbs with travel tired. Then begins a journey in my head. Okay, and now okay, and for them my thoughts. This is such a relatable feeling. Far will I abide. To thee, keep my drooping lip. Oh, he keeps. Yeah, he's fixated on his friend. Yeah. Let me pause this again. I'm gonna pause this one more time. Okay, so one other comment I have about this test is I like one thing that's like a clear improvement over the current test is that you get to, as the test maker, okay, I get to test a much more I get to test a much broader palette of English, and this allows the test to be a little bit more stable. Like I can still stick in three historical. Like the thing is that when there's only 5 passages, every every test is heavily skewed by the selection of those 5 passages, right? But you don't want each of those passages to be always the exact same topic. You want to switch them out, right? And so test to test to test, the variance of like the difficulty between the tests can be pretty extreme for the current test because there's only 5 tests. But here we're doing like 44 questions and every single one has different passages, many, many more and much smaller. So as a result, the variance should not be as high as long as there's like basically a quota, right? Like 3 from you have to have like 3 questions from like the early 1900s, maybe like the long 19th century, maybe 1 or 2 from Shakespeare's era, stuff like that. If you just like kind of have like a certain quota, it kind of like, because of the sheer quantity of the questions and the passages that you're reading, it all sort of blends and averages out, right? And so the variance from test to test at least has the potential to be a little bit more controlled. And so I think that is nice. And on top of that, the really cool thing is now we get to test everyone on the same level, same variety of English, right? We can get English from immigrant novels, right? Like Haitian, like immigrant story, the immigrant American story novel. Everyone can get tested on a couple of those questions, 19th century American rhetoric. Everyone can get tested on a couple of those questions. Maybe just non-American literature. Everyone can get tested on a couple of those questions. Even 18th century American rhetoric, everyone can get tested on a couple of those questions. And we can give the whole smattering of it. And even Shakespearean English, Elizabethan English, everyone can get tested on one of those questions. And we just spread it all out and make sure that you cover the whole breadth of English. And because English is a very expansive language. I mean, it's thanks to the very expansive imperial history of English of the English people. So it's actually really cool that we can actually get all that. The second observation, which is more about test taking, is this is a response to the observation I made earlier when I took a break, but the other thing, practically speaking, is I'm noticing that I really need to stop at the very beginning of every question and just slow down on the blurb, if there is a blurb, and on the first sentence. Like I need to let the new topic sort of sink into me. And I didn't really have to do that on the current SAT because there's only 5 passages, so you only have to really stop 5 times. But right now I'm having to stop, absorb, okay? And I have to take a couple extra seconds just to absorb what the hell this new topic is about. Like every 45 seconds, every minute or so, right? And that's a little jarring for me, but I think that is the path to success. Okay, you gotta stop and be like, okay, new topic. Wipe my mind clean of the previous ideas, absorb the new idea, the new scene, the new situation, the new topic, the new characters at play, the new species at play, whatever, right? Set the scene again and then get back in. And you have to go, so the rhythm will be like, previously it was very like adagio, is that the correct music terminology? But now it's very fricante, picante. Picante means spicy, but now it's very spicy, very fast. Right? It's much faster. Pacing. So you got to stop every single time. All right, here we go. Resume. 3. All right, there we go. Cool. Working much better. Azra, what's up? Black beans, dense, but difficult to digest because they're fiber and they're raffinose. Tannins, trypsin inhibitors, 4 things. I can't annotate anything. This is very annoying, which interfere with the body's ability to extract nutrients. Okay, these 4 things interfere. Granito and Alvarez, GNA, claim that inducing fermentation with bacteria improves digestion. There's a claim. What would support their claim? Fermented beans does something with these 4. Look at A. When cooked, fermented beans contain significantly more trypsin. No, that doesn't help. Less soluble fiber and raffinose. Correct. If they're fermented, they have less of the first 2. And they also displayed reduction. But we need to have nutritious, right? But I think B is the best. Let me just double check C and D. Not even helpful. Fewer after being cooked. This is only about cooking, so we're done. Ooh. I had to process elimination that one. Ablation rates for 3 elements in cosmic dust. What the hell is ablation? Dude. All right. The atmosphere bombarded by dust from SPCs, number 1. ASTs, number 2. HCCs, number 3. And OCCs, number 4. Some of the dust material vaporizes in the atmosphere in a process called ablation. the material vaporizes. And the faster the particles move, the higher the rate. Okay. Ablation is this thing that happens when it's bombarded. Okay, so then they let it and showed the material in the slower moving at speed. It had a lower rate than this faster moving. So speed and ablation are directly connected. For example, whereas the average for iron from AST was 28%, the average rate for iron from HTC is 90. That's good. Cool. That's good enough. Okay, I need to take a quick break, guys. Give me 1 second. I need to take a quick break for personal reasons. Be right back. So I find myself pretty stressed by these questions in a good way. In a good way, I like these questions. The policy uncertainty in the United Kingdom. We had trade policy high uncertainty and tax and economic high uncertainty in 2005 and 2010. Planning difficult for businesses. Ooh, okay, we're talking about businesses, but measures tend to be not very detailed. Is that a general measure may not fully reflect uncertainty? Okay, where general economic policy uncertainty is generally pretty low compared to the other ones. Yeah, especially in 2000. No, not from though. This is the wrong one. Each year, that's incorrect. Yeah, there we. Oops, D is the one I'm looking for, and we're good. 2005 and 2010 were the interesting years, right? So I was looking for those. I don't know how I'm supposed to time myself. 20. How much time did I even have in the first place? I don't even remember. Am I too slow right now? Table to support the hypothesis. Alaska marmots on the left side. Hibernating group. Therefore, they burn less energy keeping warm during these episodes. During the episodes of what? When they come out of torpor. Okay, I see. Longer bouts of torpor and shorter arousal. Okay. So does that connect? Arousal episodes had fewer and shorter. So that's correct. And duration, okay, and longer torpor. Yeah, that's correct. Arctic ground circles. Arctic, okay, A is wrong. No, shorter torpor bouts and longer arousal episodes. Correct. Wait, is this correct? No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite, right? The marmots had more. Wait, hang on. What? Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Okay, I just got confused for a second. What the heck? Are you serious? Okay. Over the past 200 years, the percentage of the population employed in the agriculture sector has declined in both France and the United States. Okay, agriculture, I see it. It's definitely getting smaller, way smaller. Well, employing the service sector has risen. Services in the U.S. Jumped by 1950 in the U.S. In 1950, or 2012, I guess we could. Yeah. 1900 and 1950. Yeah, that's the jump. Or 1950 and 2012, but that doesn't exist as an answer choice, so we're moving on. Euphorbia is a Eurasian plant that has become invasive. We need to complete the text. Where it displaces native vegetation and sickens cattle. It can control herbicides, but it kills plants. Engineering DNA, Excruciatingly, consequently, of addressing the problem without harming others. Correct. This is a grammar one. Sona and Clayton grew up. Joy first found Cake Literary, a book packaging company that specializes in the creation. Okay, cool. This is also grammar. Obata depicted Yosemite in two cuts. In 2019, some were exhibited alongside, they were exhibited alongside 150 others. Yep. Pronouns. Danticat, who emigrated, was novels and essays, sure. Praising her. No. D. Praising her history. Antony compared her to somebody else. Ashford became the first. This is also grammar. We're just going to be in the grammar section, which is what's going to save me all my time. So I need to figure out what the optimal time is to transition to grammar. The first African American to umpire a Major League Baseball game, his energetic gestures announcing barreling after a hit ball to see if it would land out of bounds, helped. His gestures and his habit helped transform. Okay, correct. In crafting her fantasy fiction, Oyeyemi has drawn inspiration. Her novel, for instance, is an accomplished retelling of the story of Snow White, while her 2019 novel, Name, Gingerbread, I like this question. That was a good question. It was a good, tricky little comma question. Okay, the violins handmade by Stradivari have been celebrated as some of the finest. Stradivari introduced changes to its shape, flattening some of the curves and making it lighter overall. During the neoclassical period, many writers imitated the epic poetry and satires of ancient Greece and Rome. They were not the first to adopt the literary modes of classical features. Okay. I gotta actually stop predicting. That's kind of crazy, but antiquity. However, some of the most prominent were also influenced. However, let's see. Ooh, that's a good question. One poll taken after 1960 presidential debate suggested he lost badly. 29% declared him winner. However, the debate was nevertheless the debate was ultimately considered a victory for the who rated higher than his opinion. Okay. Rita, sure go. The ideal city, Paris, first hand, color saturated style. We need a transition. Okay, this is good. I like how it's all combined together. That's interesting. Amrita Shergill was living in what must have seemed like she was studying the color saturated style of modern mass began made. Still, could she truly? So she was already doing well, but now she wanted to go back. So there's a contrast there. The morphology book, in his book, Sauer challenged prevailing views about landscapes influencing cultures. Specifically, he argued that instead of being shaped by their surroundings, it's kind of confusing sounding, honestly, this idea, but yeah, but D is correct. Okay, 25. Oh my god, 10 minutes left. Holy shit, on my first time ever taking this test. This test is way too easy, guys. I mean, I might need to go back and double check some of my answers, but although those who, come on, 10 minutes, that's a lot. Although those who migrated to California in 1849 dreamed of finding gold nuggets of stream beds deeply in rock, beyond the reach of individual prospectors. As a result, many gave up. I see. Yeah, as a result. Oh, they have only 2 of these types of questions, huh? 26, 27, I assume? Okay. Cat bone fragments found in a farming village. The fragments were 5,300. Cats ate grain. They were domesticated. Conclusions. We want to say that they were domesticated. Okay, this is only about the methodology, which is weird. There we go. Correct. This is actually an interesting question type, and I think I want to know how students actually do on these question types, but this is interesting because this is actually good. It's a good question. It's a good question. It's kind of innovative. I like this. Guerdon. And then a second example, Cavia, Laodicean. Okay. Wants to emphasize a difference in the origins of the 2 words. One is Anglo-French and one is Greek. So we should just focus on Guerdon, the final word of 2008, while the following year's final word. Yep, and this is emphasizing the difference in the origins. Yeah. Should I check my work? I want to check my work, but how? On test day, you won't be able to move on until time expires. For this, you can click next if you want to move on. I see. I'm gonna just double check because I was so overwhelmed by how different these questions were that I just need some time to reread. That's such an awkward sentence, honestly. Number 2 is such a bad sentence. Anyway. So word choice comes first, and then we have function, okay? And another function. And then a response. Only one. And then 2, okay, some literature characterization and characterization again. And okay, comprehension for poetry, and dealing with supporting evidence, and supporting evidence with infographics. I hope this interstitial, I hope this pop-up just automatically turn. Oh my God, are you serious? It doesn't just go away? That's annoying. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to double check this, dude. I still double checked because I was looking for this. I was making sure it wasn't B. I wasn't trying to double check, but I just ended up doing it. I mean, yeah. So more infographics. So several infographics, honestly. So we need to learn to use infographics well. Now we're describing the data. Okay, it's going the other direction, right? To complete a statement, multiple infographics here. And then logically a conclusion, and then grammar. 14 questions and then 13 for grammar. Right, and I'm not gonna actually look at all my answers because I don't really. It's okay if I got a couple wrong. It's fine. Right now I'm just focusing more on the format of the test, really, and then grammar, and then logic, and then a couple of these sentence I guess I'll call them focus or synthesis or something. Okay, that's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool. So some thoughts is, like I said, during the first 14 questions, or is it 13, when we're doing the reading questions, I think it really helps to just take a breath. Take a breath. Every single question, just take a breath and being like, new topic, new setting, clear the previous scene, set the new scene, new characters, new species, new trends, new ideas, new theories, new did I say characters already? But basically you gotta fill the scene in your head again, and that will take some time. So if you just rush the first sentence or the blurb of the new question, I think you'll just feel a lot more anxious and frenetic, a little frazzled. That's how I was feeling, at least. So as long as you do that, I think you'll be good on the reading. This is the first half. It's the first module of the reading writing. or what I think I'll call just the English section. So we're gonna have another module of the English section, and this one should be harder than this and than the one that I just took, presumably, because I presumably out of these 27 questions, I presumably got at least 25 of them right. So this test should know that I'm a good test taker, and then it should adjust accordingly. We'll see what happens. I kind of wish I knew how well I did right away, but I guess not. One thing I do want to check right now, though, before I even continue, is I want to just quickly, I'm going to use my, you're not going to be able to see my screen, but I'm going to just use digital SAT. I'm going to use my Chrome to look up the digital SAT time per section. Okay. So we have 32 minutes per module with 27 questions, and 2 of them are experimental. I see. So 32 minutes, 27 questions. Probably the first 14 will take at least, but I actually finished with 10 minutes left. So what the heck was that? Anyway, I actually don't know the optimal split yet, but I'm thinking something like 20 minutes for the first 14 for the reading ones, and then 12 minutes for the remaining 13 writing ones, I guess. Something like that, okay? All right, 32 minutes, let's go. By the way, does anyone know what's with these colors? Is there like a meaning to these colors? There's not, right? What's with these dots? Okay. Habitats, nutrients, species. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Oh my God, so annoying. Annotating. So annoying. Ectomycorrhizae. Carbon. I'm gonna try it again anyway. I guess it's doable, especially if I zoom in. But then if I zoom in, then I have to zoom out just to hit the annotate button. Ridiculous UI. And the reciprocates by enhancing, right? They help each other. Mutually beneficial. Okay, I spent too much time just really thinking about I spent a whole minute on that one, but I probably should have spent like 45 seconds. But less obvious in many other areas, less recognizable. Often employed task design. Okay. Okay, those 2 questions are actually pretty easy. In Nature Poem, Pico portrays his... Wait, can you just drag this? That's kind of confusing. By honoring this his respect for, his responsiveness to nature, by honoring the centrality of nature, while some of his distaste, ambivalence, okay. Yeah, this annotation is nonsense. It's impossible to annotate like this, dude. I want to be able to write. Like initials at least down when I'm reading this. In fact, I think I might try it on paper next time, not today. Actually, F it. I'm just gonna do it today. Let me get some paper ready. Okay, when some of the hard questions come out, I'm going to try writing notes on the side. Some scientists suggested that mammals were not a very shadow dance were all ground-dwelling insectivores. What's the opposite of not being not? There's like a double negative here. Not very predatory. We're not very... So we're looking for the idea that the mammals in the Mesozoic era were supposed to be ground-dwelling insectivores. Glide. We're not very... Ah, we're all. We're talking about all. I see. I missed the all. Okay. There's 4 logical ones. That's 2 more than the previous one. That's interesting. There's 4 of these. There's 5 of these. Okay. Fine art and fashion rarely converge. Wait, diverge. Online boutique. Rarely intersect in a world where they create timeless works for exhibition and designs periodically produce new styles. What? Prevail. Timeless works for exhibition and artists versus designers. I see. Artists versus designers, timeless versus periodically. That's an extremely. I wouldn't say that's a very well written sentence. So that's intersect. The artist and the designer. Okay. Ah, I get it. This is the way you're supposed to kind of handle it. So you want to be spending less than a minute per reading question. I think. I would definitely say that. Maybe I'm too fast, but if you want to be getting, at least I'm saying, for me, I would definitely want to be spending less than a minute per question for reading. Claim about the relationship between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens is weak, as it fails to account for, it's kind of outdated because it fails to be new, to be convincing. It's not convincing. He has to address, the author has to address, yes, that's correct. Soko no Ko was situated on the Pacific coast, southeast to Noktulan, far, remote, peripheral. Okay. Oh, that's more vocabulary oriented, huh? Interesting. That's actually more vocabulary oriented, that question, than the current SAT. It's kind of swinging back to the old SAT a little. If that's a representative example. Contributions to linguistics are many. Her many accomplishments include working as a professor, a poet, a book, an institute, are many, extensive. I had 8 word choice questions. Okay, 8 word choice questions. That's 4 times more than the previous module. So it's not very predictable, apparently. Here we have literature again. Satirical, gather. One man. To the warden. Hang on, I'm losing track. Warden. To the Lord Chancellor. There's a crowd outside the warden's room. One man, who was more excited than the rest, flung his hat high. Who roar for the subwarden? Some were shouting bread, and some taxes. No one seemed to know, so everyone's just kind of yelling random things. Open window of the warden's breakfast saloon, looking across the shoulder of the Lord Chancellor. Okay, they're together with the narrator himself. What can it all mean? He kept repeating to himself. I never heard such shouting before at this time of morning, and with such unanimity. Everyone's just like yelling. It's a little nonsensical. The Lord Chancellor is a little confounded. You know, he's just overwhelmed. No, he does not claim to know what the crowd wants. Speak, no. Even though the crowd clearly appears not united. I guess that's right. Yeah. So that was 9 questions in 8 minutes. Quechua speaking family, Chambi. Oh, it's not fiction, but it's a profile. Most renowned figures of Latin American photography in a paper for an art history class. Student claims that Japanese photographs are considered ethnographic value. Renowned figures of photography. Okay. I'm actually like reading this 3 times just because I find it hard to like keep shifting gears like this. I don't think that's efficient. So I don't know what exactly the right solution is yet, but yeah, that's definitely not very efficient. So we're supporting the claim that he was sort of renowned, and a student claims that he had ethnographic value because now, not technical, not within or without. Okay, see, that's correct. I don't know why I did process elimination first, but yeah, exactly. We're talking about different types of people. That's the example. That actually took me too long. I didn't need it to take that much time, but I was just sort of zoning out, I think. And I'm the big challenge for me right now with this new format is like catching on to the new topic and not freaking out or not like zoning out, just getting it. Art collectives, like the PG or the LC, they work together, maybe for style, maybe for politics, maybe just for economics. Regardless of why, they collaborate somehow, to some extent. This can be difficult for artists who are used. Okay, so we're talking about a difficulty for this not talented. Oh, yeah, that's pretty much correct. Sharing credit and responsibility. Sole control is slightly different from sharing credit and responsibility, so I'm going to just double check. B doesn't really show difficulty, the difficulty part. It's too positive. So the only one that shows difficulty is A. We had a hard time sharing responsibility. That part is connected. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Who cares what I prefer, right? It's still coming. So I guess digital is fine. I think it's much better than I expected. I had such a bad feeling about the digital, but it's actually much better than I expected. Much more reasonable than I expected. Dusky sharks led to a decline. Eastern oysters in the mid-Atlantic coast, but they don't actually eat eastern oysters. But they do consume cow nose rays, which are the main predators of the oysters, which should actually lead to an... Oh, I see. The decline led to a decline. Okay. Trophic cascades. Apparently that's a really important idea for you guys to know. So to support the hypothesis of the researchers, of the plural researchers, we need to see that they actually ate, the cow's nose rays came back. Yep, have increased in regional. Yep, they came back. I didn't have to do process elimination. Yeah, so this argument, so we only had like 2 literary kind of ones, right? And now we're going to how many? We only had 2 sort of like, only like 1 or, yeah. And then we go straight into the reasoning bits. Interesting. In the 20th century, they made a concerted effort to collect Mexican-American folklore, but did not always agree about the origins. Aurelio Espinosa claimed that folklore derived largely from the folklore of Spain. But others who who disagree argue that the Mexican folklore is the product of the cultures in the Mexican states, and we're trying to support Paredes. So then we need to find something about something that's not Spain related. That's definitely wrong. Okay, so D is correct. Whew. Okay. Birds of many species ingest foods containing carotenoids. Okay, whatever that is. Molecules that are converted into feather coloration. Okay, they help with feather coloration. They're saturated in male birds because they, okay, probably for sexual selection, but also they have health benefits, so they communicate fitness. However, Schultz have found that males of R use microstructures to manipulate light, creating a fake saturation. It's like I'm wearing fake Gucci without the birds having to maintain. So just that, buy fake Gucci whenever you can. Function of this. Sure. Okay. D is correct. Among social animals that care for their young, such as chickens, macaque monkeys, is that how you pronounce that? And humans, newborns appear to show innate attraction to faces and face-like stimuli. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, yeah, it takes me a long time to understand that first sentence because it's such always a new idea. Versace, speaking of fashion, and our colleagues used a image of 3 black dots in the shape of eyes and nose or mouth in tortoises which live alone. Significant. Suggesting that it's not just for social. Face-like stimuli is for everybody. Okay, yeah, correct. B is what I was looking for. The increased integration of technologies throughout the book process of book creation lower the cost of book production, but those decreased costs have been most significant in the manufacturing and distribution process, which occurs after the authoring, editing, design of the book complete. Okay. Oh, see, this time I actually rushed to the first sentence, so I'm like rereading the entire passage again. Yeah, it's an interesting difficulty. It's like a interesting challenge here. Like I'm finding it very easy to just zone out and not properly get into the flow. In the manufacturing and distribution, which is after the actual book is complete. This suggests that in the late 20th and early 20th first century, it's the manufacturing and distribution that changed. Very long works is not connected. The costs of were less affected? Okay. No. The costs of the costs were less affected? How do we know that? Oh, the costs were less affected. Yeah. I mean, that's actually so like almost tautologically obvious that it took me a while to figure that out. Okay, yes, duh. Because we're talking about the costs, and I was thinking more about the actual process of the writing. Yeah, I mean, it's just so straightforward that it's actually confusing. When external forces are applied to common glass made from silicates, energy buildup around minuscule defects in the material resulting from builds up. Applied to a common glass made from silicates, energy. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try writing stuff into my. Oh, we're in the grammar section already, and that was actually 16 questions for the reading. So it was actually 2 or maybe 3 more questions compared to the previous module. So there's not a hard cutoff. You know, it could be more reading questions or fewer reading questions per 27 questions. Is that based on the 2 experimental questions? Maybe that's because of the 2 experimental questions, so it's just going to always fall within that range. What is that? You know what I mean? Okay, let's keep going. Recently, they used the chemical compound aluminum oxide. Because of the word the, you need to not have commas there to make a glass solid and withstand in high strain. Okay. Interestingly, the triangle representing the mountain itself is among. So for these grammar ones, I guess you don't really need to read the whole passage, which is kind of silly. In a pivotal 2007 article, so I'm just skipping. Right now what I'm doing is I'm skipping reading the whole thing. I'm not even trying to understand. In a pivotal 2007 article, plant cell biologist Yuri Lee showed that lipid molecule. Yeah, that's correct. How long are these questions even taking me? It's taking me like, what, 20 seconds? Research studying magneto. Okay, that's a long sentence. I will just double check that whole sentence. Researchers studying these things have determined why roundworms move in the opposite direction of Earth's magnetic field when searching for food. While in the northern hemisphere, the magnetic field points down in the ground, but as it points up, oh, food. Have determined why, I see. Okay, that is the why, so colon. Ooh, that's a hard question. Researchers studying the terracotta army, the thousands. The shape is unique. That's actually kind of crazy. The shape of each statue's ears is unique. In 1943, in the midst of World War II, mathematics professor Grace Hopper was recruited by Hopper subsequently were involved more than just equations, though. Yep. She would be a computer programmer. Earth's auroras, call for displaced light, result, broadly speaking, from the sun's activity. So for the logical ones, you definitely want to read the full passage. Basically, it's only the easy ones where you can kind of skip reading the whole passage. So I guess you should try to get away with it as much as possible, but then again, you're not really squeezed on time. Look at me, I have like 10 minutes left. Like, you're not really that squeezed on time, so you don't really need to take all those shortcuts, you know? You can just read the whole thing. But yeah, some of that is extra work that you don't really need to do because some of these questions are written where there's more passage to read than you really need, especially for the grammar side of things. But for the logical transition one, you definitely need to read the whole thing. All right, Earth's auroras result, broadly speaking, from the sun's activity. Specifically, the sun released charged particles. Yeah, that's correct. Some members have resisted calls to televise, concerned that they be performing. Moreover, they worry, will not even watch. Okay. The more diverse and wide-ranging the behaviors, the larger and more energy demanding the brain tends to be, like human beings. So from an evolutionary perspective, those who only perform basic functions should allocate fewer resources. Thus is correct. Thus is correct. Because this is directly logically connected. Ugh, dude, I have 8 minutes. A topic has taken, a student has taken the following notes. The Gula are a group of South Africans. They're in the 18th century, West African, Central African traditions. Gula historian, founded the museum. I've seen this question before on the sample. I don't really remember the question, but I think it's somewhere. I've seen this. Gula historian, artist, and preservationist, found the museum in Georgetown. 2 different museum founders with pretty similar job descriptions. The duration and purpose, so they both started in 2003. That's the duration. And what's the purpose? The purpose is to preserve the Gula history. Okay, that's correct. Finally, last question. Students taking a couple notes. Clutch size. Whoa! Sorry, I'm tired. The factors that affect clutch size have been well studied in birds, but not in lizards. Investigated which factors influence lizard clutch size. Mary obtained clutch size and factors, habitat data for many statistical. Larger clutch size was associated with environments in higher latitudes that have more seasonal change. Environments in higher latitudes because the weather's worse, they make more babies more quickly. Okay. The aim is to focus on lizards. Which factors aim of the research study? Not the because though, that's the reasoning. That's not the aims. That's just the conclusion. That's just the how. So I guess it must be, this is the aims. I guess that reasoning is connected to the aim. I eliminated all the other ones, right? So I just double checking these, yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna check. I'm just gonna go straight to it, and I'll see how I did, and then after that, I'll make some comments on the format here. Oh, dude, I have to do the math. You can resume as soon as you're ready to move on. Test it, you'll have to wait. You're allowed to leave the room. That's cool. Don't exit the app or close your laptop. Okay. Testing won't resume until you return. Cool. Well, I have to go, but I want to just see my score, but I guess I can't, right? So I guess what I'll do, save and exit. Do I get to score it? So this is gonna, this is an opportunity. It'll force me to study the math. I've been avoiding studying math because I'm just such a lazy I'm just such a lazy person. But like, I want my 1600, so I should study math. So I need to brush up on my math. I'm being arrogant. Every time I take the SAT, I'm like, well, I got 800 was so easy for me when I was in high school. So I just like go back in with my arrogance, and I want my arrogance to carry me, but I never get carried by my arrogance. I keep making mistakes. So I'll practice with the math as well to get my scores. In the next stream though, because I'm tired. For now though, what I'll say is final comments on this format. It's gonna be a repetition of what I've already said, but I'm getting more and more confident in it. I think the strategy remains almost the same. I think you should generally read the passage first, okay? But you will realize that there's a couple question types where you don't really need to read the passage first in full. And so the bias, I think I'm gonna keep with my strategy of reading the passage first, but the bias, it's not as extreme as it used to be, okay? On the current SAT, I will never, ever, ever read the question first. It's such a waste of time, and it's a waste of energy, and it's a waste of it creates more stress. But on this test, on the digital SAT, I will do some quick peeks at the question to make sure that that I know what question type I'm looking for, which may speed up my test taking. So that's the major question, you know. Passage first or question first. I'm sticking with passage first. The other big thing is question types are not as diverse as I thought. It's the question content matter that's very diverse, although it's still pretty sciencey. So I think that's good news for international students and anybody who has a good mathematical and scientific, more of a scientific mind. So that's good for you guys. Literature feels less hard for sure. Science feels less hard for sure. Social science feels less hard, and history and economics and stuff, and that all feels. History and social science tend to be the history passages no longer really exist. Those old rhetorical arguments. I don't know why they took it out. They should put that back in, honestly. But like, yeah, the actual intellectual effort for every single question and the reading itself is much easier for now. So, hang on. Okay, my first observation was, or my first conclusion is passage first. My second conclusion isn't really about test-taking strategy so far, but it's more of an observation. But this is that the questions are easier. So what's going to happen is College Board is going to run the gauntlet this year on the international students. The College Board is going to realize the questions are too easy. Too many kids are getting way high scores. And so then the questions are going to be excruciatingly difficult. Give it 2 years. Within 2 years, some of these questions are going to be excruciatingly difficult. This was actually my original prediction from like months ago. Okay. Related, another observation is that vocabulary questions seem to be a little bit more committed to being more vocabulary-like rather than just pure usage. Peripheral was an interesting one to have there. Okay, so I found that interesting. Strategy-wise, going back to strategy though, my other tip for this one would be I would definitely slow down for every new question. And I don't know, I think I need to come up with a mechanism to force myself to slow down, but like I have this, and I think all of you will have this habit of just sort of reading and blasting through that first sentence and then feeling a little lost. And then being like, well, I'm a little lost, but this is a test. I'm supposed to feel a little lost. No, you're not. You're not. If you feel lost, you're doing something wrong. So I need to create a mechanism for slowing myself down, but it's much easier on paper. I can use my hand to sort of cover things. But on an iPad, that's very unnatural to like use my hand to cover things and like to pace myself. So I don't know, but the annotations suck. You know what? The other mechanism is maybe just having scratch paper on the side. So I kind of have to experiment with that one a little bit more, okay? I don't have a full conclusion for that. So, and I guess this is not so much strategy as much as how to prepare, but one of the things to prepare is to look at the question types and to get used to them. This is going to contradict what I thought was true like 4 hours ago, 3-4 hours ago when I streamed earlier. Earlier, I thought that the question types are going to be so diverse that you're going to always have to like read the question very slowly and stuff, but it's actually not the case. The question types are not that diverse, so they're going to fit into more or less a mold. And so you do need to just know the question types, and that will speed up your test taking. What a goddamn shame. You know, they're not really testing reading. They're testing some skills that are involved in reading and are critical for reading, but not reading. What a goddamn shame. I think the current SAT is actually a great reading test. Like, can you read? Can you read a long thing and retain the information and understand the arguments and hold it in your head and break down specific aspects of that language when necessary, right? Can you do that? It's a great test. So I am a little disappointed by the formatting, but I am also simultaneously encouraged by the intelligent design of the questions themselves. I think the questions themselves are well designed. I think if you make these questions like really hard, they won't necessarily feel like these arbitrary logic exercises. They will be genuinely reading and writing exercises, and they will be meaningful, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really cover reading. And so the only way for this test to get really hard is not by making the reading really hard. It's going to be about making the logic really hard. Hopefully they're not going to get into super arcane grammatical rules, because that'd be very annoying. And hopefully they're not going to go into super abstruse vocabulary, because that'd be really annoying. I don't want them to just make the vocabulary really hard and the grammar really hard, because that's not, I mean, it's good to have them, but you know, it's not really the core skill. But the data analysis becoming really hard, I think that's important. And the synthesis of the various ideas in sentences, I think that's also, you know, they could go ham on those, and that would be really good. I don't know. I think, yeah, I have to see more practice tests, and I really want to see some hard practice tests. Like, and I bet that the 4 practice tests that are already out are not very hard. So I want to see like hard practice tests. And once I see them and I realize, this is the potential, this is where it can go, and it's bad or it's good, I'll be able to make a better judgment at that time. But right now I've seen something that's so easy that's like, I don't know. It just I can't make a judgment on it yet, you know. Yeah. So mixed feelings. Disappointed that it's not reading, but hey, the questions are well designed. So that's my conclusion. Or at least that's my overall impression of the digital SAT so far. And just to recap my strategy lessons so far, my strategy is still read the passage first and find some way to force yourself to absorb the scene before reading the second sentence. right? Like usually the first two lines of a new question, of a new passage, I mean, you need to sort of like absorb the scene. So find some way of doing that. I'm also gonna figure out a good way of doing that, and I'll share when I have a way of doing that. All right, guys, that's it for today. Looks like we don't have too many questions, and the ones that we had, I kind of already answered. So guys, I'll see you again when I take another practice test, probably tomorrow. Honestly, I'll try to take as many as possible, as soon as possible. All right, guys. Until then, keep on learning, keep on growing. Peace.